Jai Hind, Jai Bharat, and welcome to Dev Talks. This is Aadi Achint. What are we? I asked this question last night at the closing of the show. What are we? We are Indians, we are Hindustanis, or we are Bharatiyas? Let me say this again. What should we be? Indians, Bharatiyas, or Hindustanis? The circle of life, if I may, of our dear country. To discuss this entire game and a lot many more things which will break a lot of Western barriers with regards to Indian history. I have with me Major General Rajiv Narayanan. Sir, good afternoon, and I think your guns are loaded.
Yes. And I'm going, sticking my neck out and going against what is taught in our schools about our history. The word history has the word story, his story. Whereas what we call this is itihas.
Hmm.
Itihas. ऐसा हुआ था. It's not a story. The West says the victors write their history. Now, this is not a story. Itihas means this is how it happened. So you indicate what all happened, and that is where we maintained. We used our bards and everybody in our Puranas. We used to main the chronological order of the dynasties and the kings who ruled. You never left that string and who came in between and which new dynasty came out there and what happened. So then the story of the bards is different. They weave the story around this itihas. Their songs are around this itihas. They may be factually, there may be some fact in there, but this is what in the modern term is called they weave their narratives. The bards and the bowls, they weave their narrative on these facts. But itihas is not what is sung by the bards or the bowls. So as we go along, and since uh, despite close to 75 years of independence, we trust more the West than we trust our scriptures. There are certain things which I will show which have been published in the West, either in
So
a university,
let's trust the
either,
West
yes, to rethink about us.
about
We went
us.
nowhere as we were something as Hindustan, but the bulk of us was suppressed. We were destroyed as India. So, as Bharat was when we were the biggest economic power of the world, not China. I don't agree to the Western
Hmm.
narrative that
Silk Road,
because
huh?
with just silk and jade and the crockery, bone china, it used to be called. You don't become a big economically. Everything else for living used to come from India. Or need I say the Indian subcontinent, the Indian empire. Now, when I
We've
show
not had
you the spread of the Indian empire, I think आंखें निकल आएंगी लोगों की.
we've not had Indian travelers going into China as much as Chinese travelers coming into India. There has to be a reason for that.
You were the most powerful and the biggest. I'll show you the spread. You will be amazed. See, our empire was very different from the others. Our concept of Chakravarti was very different from the others. What Honorable Prime Minister talks of Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam and Sagar, that was the philosophy of our Chakravarti.
Hmm.
So when you see the spread, and when you talk of an empire, Bharat ka spread, it doesn't mean that there was one single emperor. There were multiple emperors in different regions who looked after it, and the balance was maintained. You didn't fight unnecessarily. You peace and prosperity comes from peace. That's why it's the term peace and prosperity. When you have peace, you prosper. When you fight, you go down because money gets spent in other places. So
Involved. Yeah.
let's look at our slides and we'll take it from there. So I call it the return of Bharat, which should be the foundation for our narrative, because we are fighting our narrative, a narrative war. And by the end of it, I will say that we ourselves as citizens have an identity crisis, that are we Bharatiyas, like you mentioned, are Hindustanis or Indians? And once you come back to Bharat, you come to a full circle. You come back to your heritage, which you lost when you went into Hindustan and India. You lost that heritage and you come back. Okay. So let us look at the next. So from antiquity till now, let us look at the expanse of what was Bharat and its timelines. So the next one will show you. Now, this I have taken from a map from a write-up in USK McGill University, where it is published. Okay. Look at the spread. This is around Mahabharat time, which is circa 3139 BC, which is over 5000 years old. Uttar Kuru, Kyrgyzstan. People will relate to Kuru and Uttar Kuru.
Mm.
So from the north, from present day Kyrgyzstan to Lanka, in the east you have Turkmenistan and Iran to the west, and to the east Lauhitya, which is East Arunachal, and beyond that is the Rima Tatu area of Zayu County of China,
China.
spreading into that. That is the
Current
spread.
China.
Pardon?
Current China.
Current China, which is Tibet, Zayu County. This is the spread which is telling of the people who got involved in the war. These are the people who got involved in the Mahabharat war.
Wow.
20 million plus people died. And
Died,
look
sir.
back. Yes. 10-15 ही बचे थे जिंदे, 15-20 ही, बाकी सब खत्म. और उसके बाद भी जो यादव बचे थे, वो वृष्णि क्लैन और उनके बीच में लड़ाई में प्रभास क्षेत्र में, वो भी खत्म. All the Yadavas, which is about 36 years after the war. So by the time you came to 3102 BC, there was a massive disaster. Kingdoms towards the eastern side were used less. Magad नहीं आया था लड़ने के लिए. Jarasand's son didn't come to fight. There were some principalities towards the south who didn't come. But central and west and all these regions, they fought. The reason I'm saying is, I lead you on as to what all happened. And when you look at the spread of our actual spread of the Hindu and the Buddhist kingdoms, you'll be amazed. Next. This is the spread. This is the spread of the what we called Bharat. आपको कहीं हिस्ट्री में पढ़ाया जाता है? Right up to Central and South Vietnam, Kingdom of Champa, which finally fell only in 1850 AD. कौन पढ़ाता है आपको? Angkor Wat. That's a huge temple complex. Massive. People initially thought it is around 11th, 12th century AD. Now more discoveries are coming up, and as per the History TV channel, it will be even more ancient. हमको हमारा हिस्ट्री दबा दिया गया है. जो हिस्ट्री हम पढ़ते हैं कि भाई बाहर से people invaders came from outside and kicked you around and did everything and you had nothing. This is what you had. And if you trace Buddhism, right hand map, this is the
Oh,
spiritual spread of Bharat.
the orange part is one
Yeah,
and a
this
half
is the
times.
spiritual spread of Bharat. That is the, you can say, the empire Bharat, and this is the spiritual spread of Bharat.
That's one and a half times the size of China.
Yes, complete. Even Mongolia, everything.
Yeah, into
Buddhism yahin se hi
Siberia
aaya
and
tha.
wow.
We Bharat lost, and it was lost to its people from the 12th century onwards. As the Muslims came in, and actually, I feel we lost a lot of our written work in the sacking of the Nalanda University by Khilji, Bakhtiyar Khilji. History says that when he burnt it, there was so much of material out there, books and other things, your ancient books. It burned for 3 to 4 months. How much you lost? जो बचा
Yeah,
कुचा था वो अंग्रेज और जर्मन्स ले गए अपने पास से. वो पढ़ाते हैं अपने लोगों को यार. It's gone even as far as Sweden.
yeah.
Gayatri Mantra, in one of the schools I was seeing on YouTube, in one of the schools in Sweden, morning prayer is Gayatri Mantra.
The swastika, which is being used by the Hellenic,
German
the Germans
Aadi
later on,
is
but
a
the Finnish Air Force,
twist, is a twist from of our swastika. Direction
the,
change कर दिया.
the Finnish Air Force is used it till 2010 or 12.
Yeah. नहीं, I'm saying in the Swedish school, गायत्री मंत्र is the morning prayer. आपके किसी स्कूल में आप गायत्री मंत्र पढ़ा के दिखा दो. So we have lost our this thing. Now I will give you a timeline. Let's go next.
Actually, don't feel like going to next. So this is a very very
ये
hard
spread
slide.
है. Java, Sumatra, Bali. Like in Thailand airport is what? Churning of the ocean.
Yeah.
Bangkok airport. Even in Yogyakarta. Yeah, now let us look at ancient timelines. This is actually based on our ancient scriptures, but I'm not quoting them. I quote globalsecurity.org. Whatever is put there is cleared by the Department of Defense of USA. ये याद रखिएगा. Because they are very particular about their security issue. So that's why it is .org. It's not .com. Anything which is .com is private. If it's .org, it is state controlled. So let's look at the timelines. It is based on Bhagavatam Puranas, Purana Vamsa and Buddhist scripts and given through Global Security. में आप चले जाओ, source I have given you the right bottom corner, it will give you. Kali Yuga is taken as when Lord Krishna left this earth, which is night of 17th 18th February 3102 BC. Then you find till the Shishunag and Kanau dynasty, everything is towards the east. There's a big void that you find towards the west, central and west. Brihadrat, Pradyot, Shishunag, Gautam Buddha. Birth of Gautam Buddha, please note, 1894 is not what they are taught, what you're taught in school.
700, 8th century or something. They said.
That they had to adjust all your timelines to suit their Aryan invasion of 1500 BC. So you could not have any history before 1500. You were savages. So all these people came, Aryan invasion came, and so the Aryans came and settled here, and they have given you their history.
So may I ask you, what do the Chinese say about the Buddha? What year? What timeline?
नहीं, वो तो अभी वहां पे कुछ भी नहीं है ना. वो तो कम्युनिस्ट है. They don't believe ना. वो तो दबा रखे हैं. वहां तो पूछो, वो डरते हैं बात करने के लिए. हालांकि there are a lot of communists, there are a lot of Buddhists, and there are a lot of Christians there. Christian is an underground faith. Buddhism is also virtually an underground faith. But they won't speak openly because they are scared कि हम कुछ बोल देंगे तो अरेस्ट हो जाएंगे. Maurya dynasty is not when Chandragupta Maurya, is not when Alexander came. Alexander came during the Gupta dynasty, which we are taught is 3 to 5, around 3 or 5, 400 AD. Thank you, it is BC. And the second king, who was supposed to be a Chakravarti, he is also called Chandragupta Vijayaditya, Samudragupta. And then came the actual Ashok whom we are talking of is Samudragupta. Ashokaditya Priyadarshan or Ashok the Great. He is this one, not at 180 BC, but 321 to 270 BC AD. The Ashok Vardhan is 1479 to 1443. This is the Ashok Vardhan who converted to apna Buddhism, not 180 BC. This, okay, and then you find, see, West mein, when I say there is a void, means there was no big emperor or a dynasty. These were the Chakravartis who came up. Usme Gautam Buddha, he was not a Chakravarti, he was from a kingdom of Kapilavastu, but because he is a famous spiritual figure, Nandas, Mauryas, okay. This is the void. Similarly, you see Jagadguru Shankaracharya. It's not 800 AD, it is 509 to 477 BC. And of course, yeah, so how they have corrupted it? Because based on just ki ek stirrup, which has been proven wrong with the Sinoli excavations and Rakhi Gadi and other excavations, which has been proved wrong. Kalibangan is a place near Rajasthan, it's a place near Suratgarh. I've been there, posted in Suratgarh, posted nearby in Ganganagar, been there 2-3 times. There is an excavation there. See, the old railway line used to run from Bhatinda straight across into Pakistan, Punjab, to a place called Mandi Sadiqganj. That was the biggest mandi of that area where everything used to come, and meter gauge railway line used to go there. So once the independence happened, now it was being bent. So it was bent from behind Abohar and it came through Kalibangan. When they were digging for the railway line, they found these glazed potteries, and the railway is sensible. The person who was doing it, they stopped, brought the archaeological survey. They have done a proper excavation of a well-planned city dated to 2800 BC. How many people know? Hardly anybody. I got to know it first time because I physically went there.
2800 BC. Sir.
BC. Now our own people, by then we had become India, and the brown sahibs of India could not accept this because उन्होंने तो history लिख दी थी कि 1500 में आर्यंस आए थे. अगर 1500 में आर्यंस आए थे तो 2800 BC में आपका बंदा कैसे आ गया? Such a well planned city, exactly something like what is there in Mohenjo-daro and Harappa. The 3 skeletons there, वहाँ photo है. The skeletons are in the National Museum in Delhi. They're still not displayed there. I went to the National Museum. They're not displayed.
Why?
What do you tell? 2800 BC के skeletons आए हैं. तुम्हारा हिस्ट्री, रोमिला थापड़ की हिस्ट्री तो कूड़ेदाने में चली जाती.
वही तो चाहिए ना सर.
अब आना चाहिए. Based on the skeleton, it was man, wife, and about between 11 to 13 years was the son. Three skeletons. Based on the size of the skeleton, the man would have been close to 8 feet tall.
Uh,
The woman is around 7 feet tall. और ये 11 से 12 से 13 साल का लड़का 6 फुट के हाइट का था. The question that comes up is, in India, we bury the dead. We don't bury the dead. We cremate the dead. Why were they buried? सोचो. We cremate the dead. उसमें skeleton नहीं मिलता, छोटे bone pieces मिलते हैं. यहाँ skeleton मिला है पूरा. आगे चल के आपको बताऊंगा मोहनजोदारो के बारे में भी, and then we will arrive क्या हुआ होगा. यहाँ bury किया गया था तीनों को. क्यों? सोचने वाली बात. Okay. So I'm setting the stage for where you come from. Next.
So before now, John has a question, and he says 566 to 486 is the Western calendar, and 1894 BC is the Indian calendar for Buddha. Now, before
No.
you
I'm sorry,
go
John. All this has been converted to the Gregorian calendar. What I'm presenting the dates is based on the Gregorian calendar, not Indian calendar or other calendar. It's not. I don't know what was the calendar followed then, because the current Hindu calendar is Vikram Samvat, which starts
yes.
in Vikramaditya, which is 57 BC. Vikram era is 57 BC. The Vikram Samvat में आजकल के जितने भी पंचांग है विक्रम संवत से आते हैं, वो यहाँ से आते हैं.
correct.
But this, if you go to that source also in global security, it's a premium source. You have to subscribe for it. You will get, and they have converted all these dates. These are based on the not Julian. It is Gregorian calendar which is followed today. So I'm not telling you different dates. Now, we are all taught most oldest battle that we had, we have all read, is Ramayana. Ram or Ravan ki yudh. I'm sorry. Why haven't you been taught Dashrajanya Yudh? Yes, see, I love history. I was just tapping oldest wars of India and I came across this, and I came across whole of write-ups. It is there in Rigved. Dashrajanya Yudh has been mentioned in the Rigved. It predates Ramayana. Either it is before Lord Parshuram's exploits, or my interpretation is between Lord Parshuram and Ramayana. Because Lord Parshuram destroyed 21 generations of Kshatriya kings. And this was all, he didn't come down towards the south. This was all towards central and west of Western India. Now, if you have destroyed 21 generations, there would have been a void. So people would have ganged up to come in to capture territory. Next slide. Now this I'll show you the war ke baare mein thoda. This is Battle of the 10 Kings, it is called. And the king was Sudas, who was from the Bharata clan. Okay. Shakuntala's son. Now, the battle of 10 kings is he versus 9 kings. I have given you here. Bharata was the kingdom, Sudas was the dynasty, and Sudas was the king. And all the other dynasties, Alina, Anu, Bhrigus, Bhalanas, Dasya or Dahe, Druhyus, they are Gandharis, Matsyas, Purus. All these had ganged up to fight, and there were multiple battles fought, starting from the Duaba of Ganga Yamuna, crossing Yamuna and going right up to Ravi and Jhelum. Okay. And he defeated them, and so this stayed as Bharat. If he had lost, What would have been, we don't know. And the battles are described in the 18th hymn of the 7th mandala, verses 5 to 21. We are not being taught all this. We have lost touch with it. Now, on his side, they say his Rajguru was Vashisht, and with the belligerents was Vishwamitra. But one thing we have to remember, two things actually, I would say. Age was very different in the olden days. People lived very, very long in antiquity. The other issue also we must remember is, just because a person is named Vashisht doesn't mean it is the same Vashisht. It's not necessarily mean it's the same Vashisht who was in Ramayana.
Hmm.
These are the names which get repeated. Like my name is Rajiv. God knows how many more. You know, Rahul Gandhi's dad was also Rajiv with the same spelling, Rajiv. God knows how many Rajivs have been there before me and how many Rajivs will be there after me also. There will be any many. Okay. So it is his victory which established, or I would say re-established, the empire of, or the place as Bharat.
Hmm.
Okay. And this is never taught. अमर चित्र कथा में भी इसके बारे में कुछ नहीं दिया हुआ.
नहीं है. That's exactly मेरे दिमाग में वही चल रहा था ये.
नहीं है. It was a pleasant surprise. I learnt it when? Much after I retired. Yeah. I was just looking at चलो ancient battles, हमने रामायण महाभारत पढ़े और कौन से हैं, तो I got this, went through it, went through their write-ups. There are YouTubes where speakers have spoken about this and quoted all the hymns and everything what has been chanted. My eyes opened there. This is what we know about our history. This is what has been hidden about our history. So we go back, go next. We'll go back to that same slide before this, which I had mentioned earlier, concept of Chakravarti and the doctrine of Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, and what Prime Minister had mentioned in 2018 in Shangri-La Dialogue Sagar. That was the Chakravarti. You accepted the suzerainty, you gave annuity as a tribute to him. He ensured peace is there and you are not threatened by anybody else beyond your borders. He didn't interfere in what economic activity you're going to do. Next which comes out. Varna was not by birth. It's not caste. It's by proficiency. And I'll come to it later also, how it was divided and what all was done. What all were there. No, Mahabharata was very destructive. Destroyed the ruling classes of many kingdoms. Lost most of your, what we call the Kshatriyas, void in the west and south for centuries. Like it's only around 760 BC that you find about Andhras coming up. But they don't talk, prior to that the Cholas were there. But the Cholas stayed south. Andhras came up in towards Orissa also. Just south of Magad. So the gap was there, and you had the Cholas, the Pandyas also intermittently who were coming in towards the south. Power of Rajgurus. People mix up Rajguru with Rajpurohit. Rajpurohit is the one who used to conduct prayers and do everything. A Rajguru, while was competent to be a Rajpurohit and make sure that all the prayers and havans went properly, was actually the advisor to the king on matters of state, all matters of state. Now it is in this void that you suddenly find republics and all coming up. Because after all, if you don't have a king, there is a void for a king, people start governing themselves.
Yeah.
Even the monarchs start using ministers, amatyas. Amatya is the term which Magad was using for ministers. You will have ministers and other things. We'll touch on it a little later, how it was structured. And that is why our Prime Minister had mentioned that Bharat was the mother of all present day democracies. And I
Democracies.
needed to put that timeline to put it in perspective. Otherwise, a lot of Western history readers would say that this was there in Greece. Now, this predates Greece. When I talk of Maurya dynasty, when I talk of the previous dynasties, this predates all the city states and others of Greece. Now, again, all this is suppressed in history. We're not taught any of these things, that this is the legacy, this is the history that we come from. And it slowly tells you why others are scared of you getting back to Bharat. There is so much that you can learn from your history. Next.
That is true. So may I just,
Yeah, yeah,
request
yeah.
you? You said
Yeah,
Mahabharata was a very destructive war. 20 million people died. Now that's not a small number.
yeah.
Uh, just could you tell us a little more? Because I don't want to know about what happened in Mahabharata. It's about how so many people got involved.
Both sides. It was the battle for getting a proper Chakravarti. The kings there were not abiding by the concept of Chakravarti, and they looked for their own gains. And the principal problem was Jarasandh.
That, yeah.
So Jarasandh had to be removed. Okay. The next problem was Duryodhana. While he was a good ruler for his Hastinapur kingdom, he was not good for the neighboring kingdoms because he used to attack to capture cattle and other things. He
So
would
this is
attack.
the same time when there was no central.
Yeah. So that is the reason why Lord Krishna got all these people together, identified these people, and then you had this battle. And you had Akshahunis, 7 and 11, 18 Akshahunis fought. Each Akshahuni was about 1 million people, million plus people. So you're talking of close to 20 million people in those times.
20
And
million.
it was a very destructive war where you had Agneastra and God knows what all astras were utilized.
That we'll, I'm sure, talk about going forward.
Yeah, but when you read about it, Google कर देते हैं आजकल मिल जाता है. There are only about total 11, 12 survivors of the Mahabharat war.
11, 12.
Yes, because 36, around 36 years after that, there was the fight between the Yadava clans only. Na? Half of them supported Pandavas, half of them supported Kauravas. They went to the Prabhas Seth, fought each other and killed everyone. And that is when Lord Krishna also died. Through that hunter's arrow.
Hmm.
Sab khatam. And when they heard about it, the Pandavas left everything and went north and crowned Parikshit and left. वो भी खत्म हो गए. So there are a few who are supposed to be there till the end of time. वही बचे थे उस इस पूरे इलाके के अंदर. And that is why you find towards the east and south, the Cholas continued progress because there was a gap between the Mauryas and the Cholas. Big gap because the Andhras had
Yeah.
gone.
Hmm.
So that gap, all these became Aranya. Aranya means forest.
I mean, this
So,
this one I know because there's this. I mean, they mistook Krishna to be a deer, and they fired
yeah,
a
there is a
arrow.
story about that, but we will be digressing. वो तो अलग से बैठ के आपको
Yeah,
कहानी
yeah.
बता दूंगा. So
वो तो पूरा
this
है.
is,
नहीं अभी वो when you going through that you kind of fix समझ में आता है थोड़ा. You
yeah.
kind of piecing it together then. Hmm.
It is not that during that time the monarchs didn't have ministers. They had ministers, but now suddenly there is a void. There are only principalities. So हाउ डू यू लुक आफ्टर? सो गांव से शुरू हुआ था वो, आगे बस समझाऊंगा मैं उनके क्या क्या करते थे इन दो छोटा छोटा रिपब्लिक्स. मोस्ट फेमस इज वैशाली लिच्छवीस.
वैशाली.
आम्रपाली पिक्चर देखे होंगे लोगों ने, where Ajat Bimbisar, they try to come and Ajat Shatru falls in love with Amrapali. That's a fictionalized version. But those people, Vaishali kingdom, was a proper democratic kingdom. They had an elected head from amongst the elite elders, and he couldn't take a decision. They had to meet at their sabha and then take a decision and go for fight. And that is the history of Ajat shifting the capital from Rajgriha to Patliputra on the other side of Ganga, where present day Patna is. Because by the time he went, they had enough time because he had to cross the Ganga, and Ganga is quite wide out there. He had to cross the Ganga with his entire army before he could attack the Lichavi tribes. And so, to make sure that he didn't have to do that, he shifted the capital to Patliputra. That is the history of Patliputra, so that they couldn't get the early warning. Chal, next slide. Now in this we come to why was Mohenjo-daro vacated. That also goes for Harappa and a lot of all these which come. It is linked to what I am talking about towards the west. There was nothing there. There are three versions. One is Aryan invasion, which has been debunked. Second is climate change. And third is very interesting, some violent explosion akin to nuclear. And this is spoken by Western authors in their books. We can't go to Mohenjo-daro or Harappa. They have been to Mohenjo-daro because it's in Pakistan. And they have gone there and done all the tests to arrive at this. So let us look at the next slide, which will give us the. Now, this concept links the Harappan with other civilizations like Akkadian, Minoan, Yangtze. Unfortunately, it does not tally. I'll give why. Bhirana, which is in Haryana. This is dating somewhere between 7,500 to 6,500 BC. Rakhigadi, it's supposed to have been there from 6,500 to 2,500 BC, Haryana. Sinoli, 1850 to 1500 BC in UP. I'm just quoting a few. This tells you these sites are even more ancient than whatever they're talking of Akkadian, Minoan, Yangtze. These are all linked. When you Google your floodplains of Saraswati, look at the image. All these civilizations are actually Saraswati Valley civilizations. And some
One
of
begins
these
to realize
places,
when you think about the geography of it.
and this indicates that there were many more cities which were there, these ones prior to that. The current floodplain in our side is Ghaggar,
Gaggar.
the Ghaggar River. That's why it is considered the only river which cannot be tamed. Because the floodplains are so wide, it will just jump and go. The old landslide imagery of NASA, I'm still trying to locate. I think they have taken it out from their digitally. I used to have that. I'm just searching my various files. It entered Rajasthan through Punjab at a place called Satrana. And based on the Landsat imagery, the bed was 21 miles long.
Whoa.
And the bed is the
One third.
top is, yeah. So the
1/3.
top would have been 63 miles wide.
That's about 100 plus kilometers.
Now, do you realize why ऋग्वेद में नमन करते रहे हैं सरस्वती को?
That's not a river, sir. That's a.
It's massive.
It's a
Yamuna
sea.
also used to flow into this only. And I'm sure the Indus also flowed into this. The entire Thar and Cholistan and the complete run of Kutch and everything, all this was the estuary. In Pakistan side, it is called Hakra. Hakra river in Pakistan is in the bed. So many of the floodplains in around Saraswati would have been vacated once the Saraswati started drying up.
Yeah, of course.
Actually, Saraswati, one of few reports state that dried up actually 9000 BC.
Oh, bloody hell.
9000 BC. But Suratgarh के बाहर deserts हैं. You go into those proper shifting sand dune type desert. You come up on the dune range. You suddenly come up and you'll find 7 lakes, pristine lakes with beautiful sweet water.
Wow.
365 days, 24/7 there, and it doesn't look like stagnant.
That's
A
amazing.
lot of people in that area go there for duck shooting. It was one of these lakes which was echeloned towards Kurukshetra side that in Mahabharat war Duryodhan had hidden after the war under the water na is
Acha,
talab
acha.
mein.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
Yahan pe one of the talabs he was had. So as Saraswati would have started drying up because the uh, the Yamuna bent away towards Yamuna, the Satluj ka alignment changed. It flowed further north away and joined the Indus.
But the Yamuna is an east flowing river.
No, no, Yamuna was originally, as per this, when you look at it, it used to flow straight.
Whoa.
And then because of the tectonic shift of Aravali and other things, then it bent and went away. And because the rivers started shifting further away and did not meet with this, Saraswati finally petered out. So as the Saraswati river would have started drying up, your cities would have got vacated, but those which were closer or on the banks of Indus and other rivers would have continued.
Mm.
And that is where you make the mistake of calling it as Indus Valley civilization.
The continuum of
They continue. Okay.
this
Next. So
is really
this
interesting.
negates
Mm.
actually the climate change thing that these are predating those. Next. Now there is a Lord David Davenport. He was a British Indian researcher along with an Italian. They spent he spent 12 years studying the ancient scriptures and evidence and went to Mohenjo-daro. He published a book in Italian along with that Italian friend of his, Atomic Destruction. The translation says Atomic Destruction in 2000 BC. Now what did he find? That they appeared to be fused, glassified by a heat as high as 1500 degrees centigrade, sudden cooling after that. न्यूक्लियर ब्लास्ट में इस तरह से कंट्रोल नहीं है कि हीट इतना बढ़ गया है और सडन जाए. बेकिंग में होता है. हाउ डू यू गेट ग्लेजिंग ऑन योर पॉटरी? बेक कर देते हो और सडनली ठंडा पानी में डाल देते हो, उसको निकाल के. उस टाइप का मिला है. इट इज ओनली टू वन साइड. Epicenter about 50 yards wide, everything crystallized, fused or melted, and 60 yards from the center of the bricks melted only towards one side, which indicates a directional blast. It's only
Okay,
one side.
wow. I mean, this is
एपिसेंटर में तो
हो
सब
गया.
कुछ फ्यूज हो गया, लेकिन the effect of this is directional for 60 yards towards only one side. बाकी साइड में कुछ नहीं हुआ वहां के ब्रिक्स वगैरह. सेंटर से 60 yards away only bricks are melted, indicating a directional blast, जो हम डायरेक्टेड एनर्जी वेपन्स बोलते हैं उस जमाने में. सेम रशियन है, गोर्बोव्स्की, in his book Riddles of Ancient History. He said one human skeleton in the area had radioactivity approximately 50 times greater than it should have been, than normal radiation content. 50 level, 50 times बड़ा था. Next चलना.
50 times.
50 times higher. Next. Now. No. इसके पीछे बात.
I was wondering.
It implies that the explosion was something akin to the nuclear evidence, but does not match current followed patterns, which means that our ancestors knew how to control such a weapon so that it is directional, only directed towards a particular side, not towards you. 44 bodies, skeletons were found, but the inhabitants were much more, 40,000. तो बाकी कहाँ गए? और 44 skeletons क्यों मिले? It was in ancient times, you always cremated everybody, but if something like this happened where the body had some issues where it could spread the virus or spread its radiation, they were the ones who used to be buried. Apart from that, were your saints and babies who would be buried. Saints were buried, small babies were buried. Babies even today are never cremated. They are buried. Okay. Saints even today are not cremated. They are buried. बट बाकी आम आदमी का अगर आपके बॉडी में इतना ज्यादा वायरस है जिससे डर लगता है कि वायरस स्प्रेड होगा, आप उसको बेरी करते हो, क्रिमेट नहीं करते हो, बिकॉज आग से वो जा सक, स्मोक से इट कैन स्प्रेड. Similarly, if you have a body which is having heavy levels of radiation, you bury them. You don't burn them because the radiation with smoke will dissipate. So was it some trial going on for some ancient weapon, Agneyastra, Narayanastra, Brahmasirastra, ऐसे कई you find in your scriptures, something which was a directed energy? Was it also combined in that was a very advanced version of thermobaric weapon? Thermobaric is a fuel air explosive. Thermo and baric. It is temperature and pressure both high होता है. ग्राउंड जीरो में आपको बॉडी तक नहीं मिलेगा, बोन्स तक नहीं मिलेगा, पाउडर हो जाता है, फाइनर देन योर पाउडर.
Phosphorus, right, sir?
No. Thermobaric is a fuel air explosive. It's a fuel air explosive.
So what the Russians are dropping right now with this, the half the city
It's
burning up.
thermobaric. Russians are the masters at that. The Americans copied it. Okay. तो at ground zero आपको बोन तक नहीं मिलता.
So it's the one that sucks out all the oxygen and
sucks out all the oxygen. Temperature goes up to 3 to 5,000 degrees centigrade. The pressures go almost up to 100 to 200 bars. आपको कख नहीं मिलेगा. And immediately beyond the ground zero, आपके अंजर पंजर सब actually literally बाहर आ जाएंगे. आंख बाहर आ जाएगा, जो आंतड़ियां बाहर आ जाएंगी. It's very damaging. Now, was it possible that this contaminated the waters around, and it was agriculture-based society or livelihood was dependent on that, so you had to vacate it suddenly? And hence you find all these areas got vacated? Or was it because all these weapons that were used in Mahabharata times, we destroyed all these things? But this is around 1900, 1500, 1900 odd BC and all. So it is much later. The principalities were all doing it. So suddenly you find it's a void. The reason I am coming to this is, when you have, like Dashrajan mein bola tha, that there was a problem in that area because Lord Parshuram had destroyed 21 generations of kings and the ruling class. So you find people from the neighborhood and other areas wanting to come in and take over that void. And a descendant of Bharat saw this, Bharata dynasty saw this, he fought them and defeated them, and so it continued. Now, if you, the question comes, if they were smaller principalities towards the west and center, how come other principalities from beyond Turkestan and all those regions didn't come in then? They didn't come in because this area would have been contaminated.
Yeah, it was open land. Somebody should have taken it.
They've come. So it might have got contaminated. And it is only from 300 BC onwards that you find, starting with the failed adventure of Alexander, that you get repeated people who come from that side.
Because it was empty.
Yeah, you didn't have a powerful emperor
I mean,
there.
even the funniest thing to me is the Mongols. They didn't come from the regular route. They also went around and came.
It's not easy to traverse through the mountains, no?
It's not.
हिमालय पार करना आसान नहीं है ना. So he would have come towards Khorazm and then come from there to
Yeah,
come here.
that's exactly how it happened, sir.
It's not easy. But what I'm saying is, this analysis seems plausible, could have happened, because it also links to the fact that whenever there is a void, some strong king likes to come and expand his empire and take over a fertile land, and all this land was supposed to have been very fertile. So maybe something like this happened, contaminated all these areas, and for a number of years there was nothing
Nobody went
available
there.
there. Because when you read the story about it has been happening before also, when of Maharshi Vedvyas, Krishna Dvaipayan. His name was Krishna Dvaipayan. He was born on an island, Dweep. So once he codified Vedas, he was called Vedvyas. His dad, Rishi Parashar, used to talk of valley of ashes and wolves. The areas where, which areas where Lord Parshuram had eliminated all the Kshatriyas and where the Dasharajanya Yuddha had been fought. So it has come down by word of mouth as Valley of Ashes. Now
I've
in
got so many
this,
questions. I don't know where to start.
and this gives you an idea that around about that time, 1900, 1500 BC, something of this kind happened, and the city suddenly got vacated, because there is no history as to, there's nothing there as to why the city got vacated.
Yeah, the narrative says that they died out because of what?
How?
Lack of
Indus is still
people,
flowing. Indus is not too far from there. It is still flowing.
and they were close to the ocean as well.
But they're next to the Indus River. Mohenjo-daro is next to the Indus River in Sindh. So why? Why would anybody give up fertile land?
Hmm.
At that time, agriculture was at the prime, and
Second
you needed
question that I
water.
want to ask you on this is, sir, how do you explain now India's land, as per se, if you look at our history and all that, has been very, very fertile all through
Yes.
the country. I mean, in the south and all that stuff, it's like you literally just throw seeds outside your window, it'll grow. It's that fertile. It's dark red soil. What explains a desert in the middle of nowhere and the Thar? I mean,
वो
the
अलग
salt
से
lakes.
बताऊंगा तुमको बाद में. We can do that because there is a story to that also, or there is a, I would say, itihas to that, not story, of what was written in Ramayana by Maharshi Valmiki.
Ay, 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 ay.
And it gives you the rationale for why not only it becomes a desert, and why Saraswati went dry, finally goes dry. There is a reason. Okay,
Wow.
chal. Next. So ancient Bharat had been all this time till the 12th century AD, when the Muslims started coming in from the west, and and of course, prior to that, the Greeks couldn't pronounce Sindhu, which was the Indus, so you became a Hindu. This area started being called Hindustan once the Muslims started coming into north, west, and central India. So you were Hindustan from 12th to the 19th century AD. India, you became a British colony, they called you India. Now, post independence is a very interesting thing. Our constitution also states that in its opening statement, India, that is Bharat.
India, that is Bharat.
That is Bharat. Constitution में गड़ा हुआ है, which is a confused, post independent born confused mind, or it is the post independence constitution. And today you find the rediscovery of Bharat as people wanting now, especially the younger generation, to connect back to what was your glorious history,
Yeah.
which has been suppressed from the 12th century till date. If your history only talks of people came from outside and conquered you, they don't talk of your spread which goes right up to Vietnam, except the Kalimantan, which is the Borneo portion
Yeah.
of
Yeah.
Borneo portion. So Java, Sumatra, Bali, everything was yours. Malaysia, Singapore. Singapore is Singapura.
Singapore. Yeah.
Whole of Thailand, Siam. Even their history these days, they don't write about these things. You ask the Vietnamese, where is the kingdom of Champa? Where are the temples, Buddhist temples, Hindu temples? They have no answer. They are not taught. Why should they be taught? We should be taught. So let us look at what we need to do next. So we should study our ancient scriptures. For that, you need to collate it at one place. As a good start point for it, Arthashastra, written by Chanakya, is a very good start point. We should use that template and modify it to the present to rediscover. When I say Bharat of the 21st century, it is not the history, it is the model. What is constitutes Bharat? How do we live? What do we do? How do we govern ourselves? Next. So I'll do a certain comparison. Ancient monarchy, constituents of power, Chanakya Niti said 7. You had the ruler, you had the ministers, people and territory, the Janpad, economy, security, armed forces, and allies. This was the ancient monarchy. Present day democratic state, this what I have made, not today. It's about 5 years old in my various talks, and I've published papers on it. I call it constituent of powers are 9. The ruler is from the ruling party, the head of your government. You have ministers, you have people and territory, you have the territory also, overall, because individual states are gaye hain. You have to look after them also because those states also have their border problems. Why have separated the two? You go to the northeast, they have border problems. Maharashtra and Karnataka have border problems. Then your own territory of the whole of India, of Bharat that I call. You have your economy, your security, internal and external. You have armed forces. You have allies, internal and external allies who support you. And you have the opposition parties and your enemies. Because today's opposition parties are not functioning in your politics for the betterment of the people. They are looking at the betterment for themselves कि कुर्सी मुझे कहीं किसी तरह से मिल जाए, कि मैं इसको उड़ा दूं वहां सीट से. The enemy is also looking at toppling you.
Hmm.
So I have put this. Next. A brief, I am looking at what was Chanakya Niti and was it what is present India. Mark my word, India. I have not, this is not Bharat. So constituents we have done. Now just see the difference, stark difference. The king or the monarch had to be well educated and proficiency was needed. Otherwise, he would be overthrown and some other dynasty would come. Thank you very much.
Exactly. Yeah.
Here, the elected leader, there is no education qualification, only political acumen. Excuse me. Well organized state, education, proficiency, and loyalty to the kingdom, as per Chanakya Niti. All his ministers and all the others who helped the state workers. Education, proficiency, and loyalty to kingdom. Organized state है. हाँ, आप education मांगते हो, it is not necessarily any specialization, but there is no proficiency. I can be an English literature and be in the foreign service.
So there's no streamline sort of
Or I can be an IAS officer. I am an English language and I can be in your revenue department.
Hmm.
Where is the proficiency? Whereas there, to go into the various department, you had to have proficiency in that. It was a well-oiled machinery. Treasury, resources, revenue, accounts and audit, all done by professionals. I have highlighted accounts and audit here in black. एक एग्जाम पास कर लो, IAS में चले जाओ, and you feel you are more qualified than a chartered accountant. Excuse me. 50 करोड़ का भी कंपनी होता है, 50 लाख का भी कंपनी होता है, वो अपना अकाउंट्स ईयरली ऑडिट कराता है फ्रॉम अ चार्टर्ड अकाउंटेंट. या लाखों करोड़ों का आपका बजट है, आप अनपढ़ को लगा के बैठे हो. He may be a person sitting there may be a commerce graduate, but that doesn't make him a chartered accountant. So on what basis is he doing an audit and accounting of the... When you don't have qualified people doing their specific job, this is what leads to corruption. Because the person who has made that and brought it, he is qualified. आंख मारता है, उसको पता है कि गलत क्या किया है, चोरी कहाँ की है, अंडरहैंड पैसे दे दिया, ठप्पा लगा के पास करा के लिया है. They had their regulations, civil services regulations, अर्थशास्त्र में पूरा डिटेल दिया हुआ है.
काफी, yes.
Right? हमारे civil service regulations date to ICS यार, colonial times, where there were no accountability because they were accountable to the India House, which is in the British Parliament. आज की डेट में भी where is there, who is accountable? District collector is supposed to be the boss of the district. वहां पे riot हो जाए, he is not sacked, the police officer is sacked. Why? Who writes the ACR of the police officer? The district collector. But he is not sacked, the police officer is sacked. Why? He should be sacked. That why did it take place in? Then how is he responsible for the district? Departments of government as per them, and here hai law and justice. Again dates to colonial times. How many people know that the Indian Penal Code was written in 1861? The Indian Criminal Procedures were written in 1885.
Wow.
The only time these have been modified a little was somewhere around 1971-73. क्या बात कर रहे हैं हम यार? किस लॉ एंड जस्टिस की बात कर रहे हैं? Those laws were written to dominate and control the people. Is that what governance is today? Is that my Bharat? That's why I said present India. Is the government there to dominate and control the people or to provide a rule of law? Overt operations, spying, and we have forgotten Tushnim Youth, the silent warfare. So we are doing spying, but we are not doing Tushnim Youth. Tushnim Youth is what China is doing now, but he has not kept it silent now. Openly बोल दिया छोड़ के कि मैं warfare कर रहा हूँ. These are supposed to be done quietly to denude the comprehensive national power of your enemy. Foreign policy was Rajamandala. It so told that those who had common borders with you, you would have some some or most of them would be your enemies. So you go to the other person kingdom who has a common border with that enemy, and he becomes your ally. So that the Rajmandala theory was there. You're doing that, but you're also shifting slowly now from under this government towards Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, what was in Bharat, the Chakravarti Sagar. It defense and war का काफी openly दिया हुआ है, चतुरांग forces, प्रत्यक्षन, तुष्णिम war and everything. We don't have a सेनापति. Commander in chief कहाँ है तुम्हारे पास? Who's your commander in chief? A defense secretary? Who's he? IAS officer? कहाँ से आया है? क्या किया है? 2 साल उसने सेक्रेटरी DPP कर लिया तो he knows everything on matters military. So there is a big void here. The Britishers had left because they had everything being done in their war office in UK. And we have forgotten all that, and we have created something for ourselves which has of no use and value.
Correct.
Next. So you had a sovereign state, but that time you were sovereign because all your minerals, your animals, what you wanted, wood that was required, everything is available within your kingdom
Within this.
or the empire. But today you are a nation state because there are many multi-ethnic and so many are there. So you have divergent and divisive views existing in the concept of India. Koi bolta it's a union of state. Some lady goes and talks about sovereignty of Karnataka state. Yeah. No, Varna was based on proficiency, not birth. So the Varnas recognized which used to stay in the cities. Now people have to comprehend this. This Varna concept was in cities. It was not in the rural areas. Brahmin, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra and ascetics. The others not relevant were outcasts. Koi galti kar diya to you could be thrown out. Others were people looked down on Chandals. No. They were the security guards for safety of the land between the villages. They were doing guard duty between villages because uske beech mein to chori chakat hoti hai.
Transport mein.
Yeah.
Jungle transport, yeah.
Vapaks. These were the animal breeders. आपके चैरियट्स के लिए आपको ट्रेंड घोड़े चाहिए, कहां से आएंगे? You had hunters and fowlers. आपको मीट वगैरह चाहिए मार्केट में, right? And you had jungle dwellers. Mlecha was, I think, कहीं ज्यादा दिखा नहीं मेरे को. My perception is Mlecha would be a freed slave. So you had slaves whom you caught in war. You had Mlechas and you had foreign traders. Now these people had no rights in a city, in your empire. The Chandals and others had to stay outside. They did not have unless they were permitted, they were not allowed to come into the city. घोड़े घोड़े लेके आ जाते थे जो ट्रेंड घोड़े थे. Various animals, dogs and everything. And detailed laws of who does what and punishments for breaking it. Very stringent. If by proficiency you're a Vaishya, this is what you've got to do. You break that, you'll be punished. But हमारा अभी तो multilinguist है, multicultural है, multi-ethnic society है. And also we have multiple laws within the society. Caste, the British left it because the first census, people might not know, was done in 1871 based on
71.
caste. It was based on caste. Till then, we never looked at caste.
Reconfirmed in
was free for all.
1891.
Education was free for all. I'll come to that a little later. Division by birth creates division by society. You have others who are OBC, SC, ST. When you are trying to uplift them to reservation, वो होता ही नहीं है. जो upper उनका क्रस्ट है वो ले लेता है and they continue. बाकी को तो कोई फर्क नहीं पड़ा. वो they are still where they are. And who are the foreigners that you have? Your expats, your illegal migrants, and you have refugees. Our laws of jurisprudence are based on colonial times, and they are ambiguous due to heavy English and Latin phrase usage जो आम आदमी को समझ नहीं आता यार. And it is open to different interpretations. को नया जज आता है वो अपना इंटरप्रिटेशन दे के चला जाता है. It's kept ambiguous. I wonder why.
Correct. Hmm.
Next. So what could be a possible way forward? See, in the olden days, education was free for everybody. It was centered around mostly your temples. Temples used to have about 35% of arable land, so they were self-sufficient. Other money and all used to come from the kings and the rich people. In a village, all your socio-economic activities was coordinated through the temples. So there was a top-down and bottom-up approach. And based on the aptitude, people went for higher education. Everything was funded through the crown and the rich people. You never paid for education. Okay. Now, what is necessary? You need to modify your constitution, 75 साल हो रहे, to bring in education and relevant proficiency for politicians and your executive. I cannot have a generalist sitting who has no clue about anything and sitting on a file. Sorry. If nothing else, at least the minister has to be competent for the chair that he is sitting on. You brought in a technocrat in the railway ministry and just see what has happened to the railways. It's there stark in front of you. A technocrat is your railway minister, and the railways has just, people can't recognize the railways today, that this is the same old one.
Chugging along.
Yeah. Ministers and executive have to be proficient in their departments. He cannot be a generalist. Sorry, he cannot take decisions then. Except ministers who have to work full time for whatever they are doing. All members of parliament and state assemblies from my side have to be part time. Sorry. You come once for the budget, once for monsoon, once for winter. पूरा साल तनख्वाह किस लिए ले रहे हो तुम? It's my money, yaar. My tax I'm paying. Why should I pay you the whole year if you're coming only 3 times a day? उसमें से भी मतलब 60% or 70% of the time you walk out. No, you'll be paid by the hour that you have contributed for work in the parliament or the state assembly. At other times, like everybody else, you will hold a job as per your proficiency. I cannot have a ninth fail or a fifth fail sitting and dictating to me how the country will run or the state will run. Sorry. You have to have uniform civil code. You cannot have multiple rules for multiple religions. Sorry. As a Bharatiya, it has to be one civil code for Bharat.
All.
And all old antiquated rules, regulations, laws have to be as per present requirement for smooth governance. And like I mentioned, not based on colonial needs to dominate a society or a country. Sorry. Within Bharat. Next, I have an issue with minority. Within Bharat, all are Bharatiyas. So how can a Bharatiya or a citizen of a country be a minority in his own country? Excuse me. It's an oxymoron statement. That means you are not listening to the rules and diktats of the country. You are listening to something else outside. It's untenable. If you consider yourself as a minority, thank you. You use all right. You should lose all rights as a citizen. Thank you. Simple and straight. If you are a Bharatiya, then there is nothing called minority. Everybody is a Bharatiya, and it is the responsibility of the state to make sure that everybody gets equal benefits. So we need to revert to that ancient Gurukul norms. Education has to be free for all. No fees will be charged. And that should come from the corporate social responsibility funding. Big business houses pay. Why are you sending money to Harvard and other places? Sorry. You give
To do
here.
anti-India
You
studies.
give here because education is the most important for your country to thrive,
Next,
continue to thrive.
where will you hire your next manpower from?
Yes. The moment you do that, you don't need any reservation, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. And higher skilled, thereafter you must have professional people to be able to check does he or she have the proficiency. उसके proficiency के मुताबिक जाने दो. Socio-economic issues to be resolved both bottom up and top down, like it was done earlier, which I was saying. In the ancient republics, you had Gram Sabha. From there, group of villages, you had a Samiti. Then you had, let me see, what was it called? Yeah, Janpad Samiti, then which was again a slightly larger area in the region. Gan Sabha, then you had local assemblies or Vidhat, went to the Council of Elders and then went Vidhat and Council of Elders. All issues were discussed, including diplomacy and military. And then it went to the Rajguru and the king for the final decision. Okay, so something like that. And though late Rajiv Gandhi tried to bring in Panchayati Raj, but I think it was not thought through. We need to think this through to get what we need to know. Then you make, and anything that you do should have, all religious institutions should come under one rule and regulation. You cannot have different rules. So that will give you a level playing field. And caste system, you will need to educate and wean away this through education, dropping it from census, dropping it from all forms. Why do I need to write on my form whether I'm a Hindu or a Christian or a Muslim? Sorry, yaar, I'm a Bharatiya, I'm an Indian. Thank you.
That's all it takes.
That's all it takes. I'm a Bharatiya. That's it. However, is anybody's interest whether I'm X, Y, or Z, I follow X, Y, or Z religion? Right? And political parties need to be democratic and not dynastic, be based on ideology for betterment of Bharat and cannot be personality based. So the moment you bring in education and relevant proficiencies and everything for the politicians, all this will automatically follow. Because in any case, if he is not a minister, he is just a part-time worker and he gets paid, he does his normal job and he gets a salary from there. 10-15 दिन ही आने हैं उसको यहाँ पे पार्लियामेंट या स्टेट असेंबली अटेंड करने, 3 दफा आना है साल में. That's it. You don't need such big houses and MLA rest house and houses and everything for MLAs and MPs and other things in Delhi. Sorry, on various states. Sorry. He lives in his own house. Just have a hostel. They come and stay in the hostel when the parliament or assembly is running and they go back to their own house.
होटल बना लो, चलो कोई बात नहीं.
जो
India
भी
is a
करो,
rich
उसके बाद you go back to your own house यार, जहाँ पे तेरा काम लगा हुआ वहीं काम करो आप. अभी politics has become a business to earn money. Sorry. This is for the betterment of the people. It's not a business for you to earn money. Next. So some random thoughts. No. First is, as a nation, who are we? Identity crisis. Bharatiyas? Indians? Or Hindustan? So the Indians are the ones who are the brown sahibs. Hindustanis are the ones who are the left-wing liberals, who are also with the brown sahibs and who listen to the diktats from outside. So it's very easy when you have such divisive nature within your identity to make anti-India narrative to target these divisions. Next, we need to connect with our ancient roots. So, if that be the case, the pan Bharat language has to be Sanskrit, not Hindi or English. Sorry, your ancient scriptures are not written in Hindi, they are
Hmm.
written in Sanskrit.
Sanskrit.
And if you push for Hindi, you will have a north south divide. Go for Sanskrit. All your languages are based on Sanskrit, though Tamilians will say that no, it is not based, but whatever it be, have just two languages here, Sanskrit and mother tongue. It's feasible in this day and age, yeah, digital connectivity. बच्चा अपना संस्कृत पढ़ेगा और मदर टंग पढ़ेगा, पैन इंडिया आपका हो गया. Why should I learn English? Chinese don't learn, they learn only Mandarin, yeah. They don't learn Chinese, English. जिसको जरूरी है वो पढ़ता है as a foreign language. Americans and all the West, and here when they come to do business with the Chinese, they learn Chinese, yeah. They learn Mandarin. So similarly, you want to come and do business in India, learn Sanskrit. All your software developers and everybody has said the best language for software development is Sanskrit. And yet, we are chary of revitalizing ourselves by reading Sanskrit.
Mhm.
Our Hori Itihas, way of living, the advances in sciences are well beyond the current levels. We cannot comprehend them because we have lost touch with our scriptures. How they did, what they did, we don't know. But here is the single most important point: learn from it, don't go back to the past. Adapt it
Most
to the
important.
present.
Most
Adapt
important.
it, yeah, to the present to achieve the vision of what is the Bharat in the 21st century and the years to come. Don't blindly apply the rules which were taking place there. It doesn't work because the society evolves and moves away from it. So modify that to this. The other two issues. Everywhere we find students, पांचवी जमात का हो, सिक्स्थ क्लास का हो, going model UN. Nonsense यार. टीच द चाइल्ड मॉडल. गांव में है तो मॉडर्न मॉडल पंचायत, सिटी में है तो मॉडल म्युनिसिपल कॉरपोरेशन, मॉडल असेंबली, मॉडल पार्लियामेंट, BDO's office, SDM, how they work, district collector, divisional collector. Till he comes out of school from 5th to 12th, that is, let him know how you are governed, yeah. And when the schools come there and kids, these people interact with the kids, akal aayegi inko to behave and not make an ass of themselves in front of the kids. Okay. Model UN and all, once they get into college, वहां सिखाओ यार. पहले teach the child how are you governed as a nation. Next, no, I repeat, no political parties in colleges. All
Ab-
this business of college election, president, and yeah,
Absolutely.
all down the dumps. President किस चीज का है यार? What union, student union are you talking about? Do you have student unions like this abroad? Oxford में है, but that's for a different purpose. You go to the US, do you have anything? You want to join politics? Please don't use college as your stepping stone. Quit your studies, join your political party. Don't spoil the atmosphere of the college which children come to learn. पढ़ो, उसके बाद आपको जो काम करना है, पॉलिटिक्स में जाना है, जो करना है करो. अगर पहले पॉलिटिक्स में जाना है स्कूल के बाद, छोड़ दो, जाओ. You have to save, I feel, our colleges, especially from this rut of which has been captured by various political parties. No, you cannot have students union of various political parties use in the college. No, no students union. You have youth union who are not part of the college. Then you won't get admission in any college. So these were some of my views, which I think that is how you can retrieve your Bharat. These are some base points from which building blocks can be built. I'm told Mr. Rajiv Malhotra is working on a project on Bharatiya society. So
Yeah.
let's see what he talks about. You cannot make the same mistake of Sharia and of uh, rigid adherence to Sharia, rigid adherence to ancient norms, because that is the problem. Sharia was okay in 8th, 9th century, 10th century, maybe 12th century. Sharia is not okay today, yeah, in the form that it is in. Have you modified it and updated it for today's society? No, you need to. In a similar manner, when you bring in your ancient norms from Arthashastra and other history, you cannot apply it today. The norms and governance and the manner in which the society lives has changed totally. So it can't be pulled back to the olden days. It has to be for the present, and you need to modify it to bring it to the 21st century. And I feel you need to go back to your roots. Sanskrit has to be the language, and let's get back to be what the vision of Bharat should be for the 21st century. I've finished here. Whatever you want to ask, please feel free.
I mean, honestly, sir, I'll have to see this episode again myself. There are just so many things I would want to pause and research more, because uh, it brings about a certain different aspect of our narrative.
Because this
And
is something which has not been taught to you in schools.
yeah, the narratives today, I feel, have to be, and we've discussed this so many times, sir, that the narratives have to be at the uh, base of a fact, right?
Correct. But
Now,
that is what
it
I'm saying. Before you make the fact, you have to base your foundation so that everybody becomes a Bharatiya.
yes.
Today, your foundations are three. There is somebody who wants a Bharat. Some within that want to go back to ancient times. Sorry, it doesn't happen that way. It can't happen that way. There are others who are still living in Hindustan, who think that that is the way we have to live. And there are some who are living in India, who are the brown Sahibs, and who have their own followers and hangers on, and everybody who have come up in life through the links and pinks with the brown Sahibs.
Hmm.
So you have three distinct Indias, and so it's very easy to create a narrative because the fissures are existing. When you make a common base and say this is what Bharatiyata is all about, not Hindutva, Bharatiyata is all about, then it is very difficult to create fissure in that. Because those who don't abide by it lose their citizenship. Simple. It has
Indeed.
to be stringent as that. You lose citizenship, then it hurts.
It's a very deep discussion, sir, and there are so many questions and comments here. uh, we are at about 1 hour and 28 minutes. Let's take another 10 or 15 minutes to answer these questions, sir. uh,
Yeah,
and I would also recommend, guys, this is a, although, let me just announce it right here, General Narayan will not be here with us for the next 3 or 4 Saturdays because he's traveling. Uh, but I would actually, because it'll give me a lot of time to research this as well, and I'm going to catch you back for this, sir. This
oh
is a
yes,
subject
most
we
welcome.
honestly, I mean, I wanted to talk offline, but let's just do it online. Let's talk about building the narrative from a
Correct. So
base of
once
history.
you can build a narrative once you have a foundation.
Yeah. So let's
Otherwise, you
we'll
will have three contrary narratives.
yeah. So we'll talk about this going forward, and let's see what we can do about it.
Yeah,
But let's get into the questions, guys. Most importantly, like the video, send it to the elders in your family, please. Let them see this. Send it to the children in your family, and forget everything else. Let people see this video, because at the end of it, you need to know the baseline of reality, if I may. A lot of propaganda has been put across to us. We were, for the lack of a better words, basically idiots till the time some white guy came and gave us what they gave us. But that's not the case, and that's not the point, and that's something that we need to look at. So, like the video, subscribe to the channel. You can support Dev Talks. The QR code is right here. You can become a member or send us a super sticker or super chat. Let's take this first one. Hello, General Sir Aadi. How can we talk about Bharat and Bharatvarsh when 50% don't even consider themselves Bharatiya? We've got Tamil, Punjabi, Gujarati, Marathi, but no Bharatiya in our country.
Harshdeep Sharma, I couldn't agree with you more. Why 50%? Anyone you ask for where you come from, he says, I am a Gujarati. I think there are only few like us who are from the army. When I go abroad and I'm asked, who are you? And I say, I'm an Indian.
People like me have lived all over the country, so I really don't know where I'm from. So I say, "Yeah,
I'm
जहाँ
an
से बोल
Indian.
दो भाई, कोई
I'm
problem
an
नहीं है.
Indian.
I'm an
Others,
Indian."
when they go out, I know. I have heard them say, I'm a Konkani, I'm a Malayali, I'm a Tamilian, I come from Assam. See, that is because our vision of being Bharat, as you have rightly pointed out, has been broken. And that is the thrust of this talk, that we need to redevelop and get back to being a Bharatiya. Not Indian, not Hindustani, not Hindu, Bharatiya. And there was a very nice marching song made in the 80s. I'm forgetting the name of that Subedar Major. It goes, Hum Sab Bharatiya Hai. And I loved that line, Hum Sab Bharatiya Hai. Yeah.
When did Chanakya and Kautilya exist?
Chandragupta Maurya in his times, 1500 or 16th century BC.
16th century. I mean, it's this is a guys. I mean, if you can't read the Arthashastra, of course, uh, I do read that, but it's very difficult. So it's a little slow, honestly, and I'd hate to
See,
confess that.
I will tell you about Arthashastra. The version of it which became available was around early 1900s, I think around 1910 or something. Professor Ramashastri had done that translation. It's in 3 volumes. It is available. One is full in Sanskrit. The complete this thing. It's all mixed. Second, mixed means all the chapterization which I showed you in one of the slides. That is the chapterization of what all he has spoken about. The next is the transliteration of what he has been said, and the 2 volumes, first 2 volumes are the transliteration and commentary on the translation with the Sanskrit verse, and the third volume is just pure Sanskrit. So better than that is L. Rangarajan's book. I'll show you.
Because for me, I mean, as I was saying, I
It's
think
a Penguin
the
classic.
yeah,
It's a Penguin classic, the Arthashastra Kautilya, written by our ex-ambassador Ellen Rangarajan, and he has chapterized everything. And at all places wherever he has brought in, he has given the names, the verses, and everything. Like you see at the end of the paragraph, the verses are quoted.
hmm.
The verses are quoted. So if you have Ramashastri's book also, then you can correlate to that and see it. Otherwise, I recommend this. It becomes easy because everything and anything he has collated everything from that and brought it at one place.
It's fascinating. That's why our forefathers used to say, Jai जहाँ
जहाँ
नहीं
नहीं
भारत है,
भारत है तहाँ
वहाँ
नहीं
नहीं
जगत है. Yes, very true, Panigrahi sir. Yes.
I have not
Our
heard of this, but
civilizational continuation and existence is because of identity of Bharat. How many invaders have come and how many have tried to do it, but as a civilization, ours is the only civilization from antiquity to have survived all through strife. It's because of this identity of Bharat that you have to cling on and you have to abide by.
when the West was still naked and hunter gatherers, Bharat sorry, Bharat's
Yeah, yeah.
ultra mega
That
wars was fought.
subsequently, if you want, I can touch why they were naked hunter gatherers. That goes into plate tectonics and
Yeah,
other things.
that wo karenge, sir. We have to
वो
discuss that. That's
अलग
what I'm saying.
करेंगे.
This is that's what I'm kind of saying online itself. That this is not just one odd discussion. It's going to happen quite often
Yeah, mega wars were fought. Yeah.
As long as Imran Khan doesn't fall into trouble again and again, and then also we'll kind of
Ah,
bring it up.
Mr. No Nonsense. See, first was a normal education, like what we call school education, was available for everybody. So there was uh, education was not based on your varna. It was available for everybody.
Everyone.
Okay. After that, based on your competence level, what your guru found, because everybody went to the Gurukul, you stayed there, you were taught, and then based on your competence, the guru used to decide that you are fit to do what. What would you be able to do better? Don't relate to Mahabharat, because by then it had descended that only if you're a Kshatriya you can learn weapons. Dronacharya was not a Kshatriya. Lord Parshuram was not a Kshatriya. They were Brahmins by birth. Yet they knew how to fight. So why did Dronacharya deny Karna the competition with Arjun? Open competition. These are politics. How that is the opening of descent into Kali Yuga, where Varna was used, politicized. But uh, Duryodhan, for his own political things, made him the king of Anga. That you're equal. So Varna was as per your competence.
As it was, I, in a modern sense of speaking, I think it's more of a profession.
Yeah, see, I'll relate to myself. I'm born a Brahmin. By profession, I'm a Kshatriya. What is my Varna?
Bharatiya.
I was soldier. I fought in a battle also. So, am I a Brahmin or am I a Kshatriya?
I think we
Same
start
is the
saying
case
we are
with,
Bharatiya.
yeah,
Baki sab kya
same is the
Bharatiya.
case with Dronacharya.
Yeah.
He was a Brahmin, but he was known more for his fighting process and teaching them, and he was the
Yeah.
commander in chief
Of
in
the
the battle.
forces. Yeah. Yeah.
Before he died, he was the commander in chief. So, who is he? That's why he is Drona Acharya. He's not called a Rishi. Acharya is a teacher. Kripa, his brother-in-law, is Kripa Charya. Kripa
Mm.
Acharya. He is also fought.
Mm. So Ms. Maya Jagannath says, so interesting a discussion that I forgot my afternoon nap to watch this wonderful discussion.
Thank you, Maya.
Batraji says radiation level is said to be 50 times higher. He says how much of it is true, I don't know, sir. Just showed it to you. And this,
I've
uh, in all
referred
honesty,
you to the books.
no,
I've
he had
referred you
typed
to the two
this.
books.
He had
Let
typed
me
this
give,
comment before we came to that point.
yeah, I will. I will give you the name. Wait. Where is it gone?
Actually, a personal story that he's also talked about. He says, our village in Pakistan, Chak Pachas Sahiwal, original Montgomery, is very close to Harappa. My father used to go there with his friends to visit the sites.
The name of the book, like Lord David Davenport, is written with Ettore Vincenti. Atomic Destruction in 2000 BC. It is 2000 ASC Distruzione Atomica. It is written in Italian, published in Milan in 1979. There is another person who has written about this, Nick Redfern, Weapons of God. It was published in the US in April 2016, and it talks about all these points which I have given you. I have referred
Wow.
it from these books.
I mean, he
And
had put this across before we had
yeah,
come to that particular point, so it was
it's from those
interesting.
books. No, I was naming those books, giving you the names of those books.
No, that there are recommendations. What should we read? So, guys, there are your recommendations. Uh, this thing, and he was talking about a personal experience where his father used to go
Yeah,
with his
yeah, yeah.
friends to the Harappa sites.
I had
Fantastic.
picked up from Kalibangan an axe head, which still had the marks of thongs. I've gifted it to my nephew. I don't know, does he have it still? Dated 2800 BC. Gifted to me by the museum head. That museum, by the way, has still not been inaugurated by us.
Yeah, I know. I wanted to
Kalibangan,
know
this
of
not been
four.
inaugurated.
There's. I have another word of from where the Ashok Rut is in Allahabad in Prayagraj. There's a door, Purana Darwaza hai, and so when we went there, and somehow this nail just fell from this thing. So we were taken there and stuff like that, and there was this ASI wale people were there. This was a very hidden sort of a room, and he said, "ये गिरा है आप ले लो."
Been very ancient.
हाँ वो एक पड़ा हुआ है सर. I'll
नहीं, ये तो उसने दिया था. It was they had done the carbon dating. It was 2800 BC.
No, they were like multiple of these on the
Ah,
the frame, on
very
the door
ancient.
frame, and one of them fell off.
Simple to understand the science. Go to Qutub Minar. वो सामने विजय स्तंभ है. It's very ancient. It was around 1200 when जब कुतुब मीनार ये सब बन रहा था तब शिफ्ट किया है. आई थिंक ये सारनाथ का स्तंभ है या कहीं का स्तंभ है. The iron is still not rusted here. आज का आयन तो रस्ट हो जाता है बड़े जल्दी.
हाँ,
दिल्ली में
that's exactly what I want to show you. It's such a old piece. It's here somewhere. I can't really reach it.
Doesn't rust. Yeah. So that
It doesn't
tells
rust.
you the metallurgical expertise that was there at that time.
It's amazing, sir. The kind of stuff that is there, uh, really, really amazing. I mean, you see certain amount of construction which is done in older temples and this and that. They've just kept stone on stone. There's no cement, nothing. It doesn't leak.
And
It
look at
doesn't
the engineering precision.
straight.
Today we talk of
Absolutely.
German engineering precision. Look at the engineering precision they have in these ancient temples. Go down south, it is still there, pristine. You will be shocked.
Yeah. Very good discussion. Never knew our country had so much history. So
I am also still learning.
this is an interesting
Yes.
quote. Which is IBCD, Indian born
Indian
confused.
born confused Desi, because you don't know whether you are Bharatiya, Hindustani, or Indian.
No, but this is something that we need to talk about. That we have this issue that in front of us.
I hope this video generates this discussion.
I'm sure so people
Makes
will
it
watch.
widespread.
I honestly, I'd say even if 5 people watch, 5 people talk to 5 other people, and they talk to 5 other people, and that's how the story will grow. Because this is a discussion which is timeless. This is not Imran Khan got arrested or shot. It's a timeless discussion, which will remain. Or Xi Jinping that
We
did
always
some.
talk of Pakistan as having a nation with confusion on their identity. Let's
Yeah,
look inwards. We ourselves don't have an identity, so the narratives work.
I mean, SN Saab says if Hindu derived from Sindhu, the identification is an 800-year-old concept. What exactly the ancient civilization used to identify as? What would foreigners
भारत
call a Bharatiya?
फॉरेनर्स किंगडम्स तो थे ही नहीं तब यार. सिविलाइजेशन तो था ही नहीं तब. Like Dhirana, 7,500 BC. There was nothing beyond this. तो वो क्या बोलेंगे तुमको? वो तो हंटर गैदरर कहीं घूम रहे थे अपना. अभी तक एग्रीकल्चर शुरू भी नहीं हुआ था इनका. When they talk of these Minoan creeds, they are coming into about 1800, 1500 BC. Some Mesopotamian came around 2800 BC and all. Because the next level they are talking of, they have still not forgotten to suppress you. So first was the Aryan invasion that died a natural death even in the West. So now they are working on a project to talk about Mesopotamia, the aggression from people from Mesopotamia, and that's why they talk of climate change out there, and that they came here and they civilized you. They still want to show you that we were dumb savages.
Swaroop says, sir, I have a recommendation, a book, The Journey Continues by Sri M. Please go to chapter 6, where you will find an interesting link to what you have spoken today
Who
about
is
history.
M?
I
Wait,
think this
let me
is,
note.
yeah,
You said that's the name of the book, no? Journey
yes.
Continues. Okay.
The Journey Continues by Sri M.
Thank you, sir. I will surely make it a point to read it.
Right. So let's see. There's just there's so many comments that people have given. We've gone quite far ahead in time. So I don't want to read everyone, but let me assure you, a lot of people are saying very good suggestion, discussion, very simply fascinating. They're discussing each and every probably factor that we've spoken about here. So it's a very interesting set of comments here. So this gives me so many pain seeing all this. I don't know whether we'll be able to ever restore that what with all these people who thinks Ghazis are ancestors.
See, the issue is, Siddharth, I would only say it is education. And education change don't take overnight.
Hmm.
These people have been taught this is the education they have got. So when you bring in the other education and start teaching them what it was and what your Hori Itihas is and what you are and what is the Bharatiya, that is when you will be able to wean away. And that's why I said the small percentage whom you're not able to wean away, who thinks himself as a minority, he loses his citizenship. Thank you. How can a Indian be a minority within India? It's an oxymoron statement. India belongs to Indians, and he says that he's not. So the moment we shift to Bharat, then either you are a Bharatiya or you are a non-Bharatiya. Non-Bharatiyas are not citizens of Bharat. Simple.
You decide.
You decide.
I mean, see, there has to be somewhere down the line. It's not being hard or
No,
anything, but somewhere down
granted.
the line, we as a
It's
country
been
need to
done.
stay at this who we
It's
are.
been done.
Yeah. I
Either
mean,
you belong to this country or you don't belong to this
you
country.
won't
If
go
you
to the
belong to
Germans
this
and say, "Listen, you're not, you're not Anglo Saxons and this and that." They will say, you won't go to the Germans and tell them that, "Listen,
country,
Hitler
does
never
Germany
happened,"
have a minority commission in their country? I don't think so.
and they've got divisions,
Or deep divisions.
deep
Because
divisions.
after all, they became Germany as one through
Now,
uh, Bismarck,
yeah.
the Iron Man of Germany. 1870s, 1880s में तो इकट्ठा किया था. Same is the case with Italy.
So we'll take this as the last one and kind
Yeah,
of wrap up. We need to raise the quality of consciousness in India. We can't implement Vedic values, Bharatiya values in an individualistic and selfish society.
society becomes individualistic and selfish, Ramakrishna ji, when you don't have a foundation as to who you are. Then every man for himself, and devil take the hind. That's what you will do. But the moment you relate yourself, see, I would be a bit chary to say that all Vedic values can be implemented. Okay, because you have to bring them slowly, slowly, slowly to bring it into that. Because the Vedic values are a way of life, which we have lost it for millennia. Now you got to bring it back. So bring it through your Bharatiya values, what should be the society, and then slowly, slowly bring in all that. And in Vedic values, please, no rituals. We always mix all these values with rituals. Rituals are individual अपने घर में जो करो. Values are societal values which improve your living. That is what it is.
Sorry, I ये ले लेते हैं. So this is a very interesting one. Why do we pride ourselves on not having attacked a single country for the past 10,000 years, when the whole history is built on conquerors and those who have been conquered? Isn't this
I
making us
showed
weak?
you. I showed you the spread. That didn't happen through trade. Yeah.
Sir, look at the Sanatani gods. I mean,
I
if
didn't.
there's a
I didn't.
Ashirwad,
I didn't. All this thing didn't come under the through
I,
trade.
I
Yeah.
say this, if there is an Ashirwad from one hand, the other hand is a Sudarshan Chakra. Listen, you do
बिल्कुल
naughty things,
बिल्कुल
your
yeah.
head will go off. So
That is what
let's
I'm saying. Na? This is the history, incorrect history that you're taught. Please
pacifism.
tell me,
Yes.
how did you spread right up to central Vietnam? Yeah? How? You conquered them. They liked the way you lived, how you were living, how the societal norms and all were maintained. They started following. Thailand, the place where their palace is still called Ayodhya in their language, Ayutha.
Yeah.
That's Ayodhya. The king is always Ram, if you please. I think the current one is Rama the sixth or the seventh.
Seventh.
They still follow our traditions यार. ये सब लड़के आपने जीता है. रीड दी चोला एम्पायर यार. पहले भी था, बाद में कम हो गया. श्री विजय किंगडम और बाकी को कैसे कॉन्कर किया था थ्रू मैरिटाइम एम्फीबियस ऑपरेशंस. So in a written history, this is the first time amphibious operation, and you have conquered that area. I think 1090 something or 11th century में किया है. Rajendra Chola and Raja Rajendra Chola. They went and conquered the whole Sri Vijaya kingdom and went Java, Sumatra, Bali. Everything was reconquered because they refused to pay tribute to the Chola Empire. उसके पहले Chola Empire had gone down, then it rose. तो क्या बोलते हो कि हम लड़े नहीं हैं यार? झूठ बोलते हैं जो मुंह खोल के बोलते हैं हम किसी से लड़े नहीं हैं. 11वीं सदी बहुत दूर नहीं था यार. When you went and conquered all these areas, reconquered all these areas. The whole issue always was you never killed a king. You never killed the dynasty. If the king died in battle, the next who was in line was crowned and they became your vassal. Not exactly a vassal, they gave you indemnity for ensuring peace and prosperity and stability. And you, with that indemnity, you maintained a huge and a strong army to make sure that nobody threatened the frontiers of what you control. And the king was free to do as per their laws and norms what they were following. He was free to rule his country whichever way he wanted, his kingdom. It is when we started killing and absorbing kingdoms that the problems started. So that is why I say the ancient norm of Chakravarti is correct what we are doing foreign policy of Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam or Sagar. That is what was Chakravarti of our Chakravarti of ancient times.
Sir, firstly, I'd like to thank you. This has been amazing. Honestly, I'm gonna sit down and watch this tonight because uh, I was reading this, that, the other. I have certain gaps that I need to this thing, and plus pause and watch is something I like to do with deep seated comments, deep discussions, so that I can actually research myself, dig out certain things and stuff like that.
This is a extract of what I have been reading for the past 50 plus years. 9-10 साल का था when I started reading all this and continued. So this is an extract from that. And these are my views, but I don't say this has to be there. If there's a discussion and anything comes up, we need to establish the foundation of what is a 21st century Bharat and go back to calling ourselves Bharat and just delete India from the name. And with the deletion of India, we go out of Commonwealth. Thank you. There is nothing common about it. It's all the wealth that they have
You don't
taken
have
from.
wealth, and there's nothing common about all of
Yeah.
us.
You've taken all our wealth and you don't have wealth today. And there is nothing common between us here. Our culture doesn't match.
Absolutely.
Culturally, we don't relate to you. So
You may have a Indian prime minister that we don't care about that,
that's your
and you can
problem.
keep As a matter of fact, you can keep everything else. Keep all these guys there. They're happy. रखो अपने पास ही.
दे
Right, sir.
नीड यू
Thank you.
ना, उनका बर्थ रेट ही इतना कम हो गया. दे
हाँ,
नीड
that's
अस.
what I'm saying. रख लो कोई बात नहीं. It's okay. Doesn't matter. और भी ले लो. मेक्सिको बॉर्डर के सामने बहुत लोग खड़े हैं अभी.
यस. लंबा
Sir,
चल
thank you
गया
so
ये.
much. This is nahi, sir. That's okay. I'm going to break this down into clips and put it out. That's something that I've been doing. Thank you so much, sir. And this is a deep research, of course. Guys, spread the word. Spread the word about this video. My request to you: don't do it for any other. Do it for this one. This is critical for us to know about our where we came from, because if we don't know where we came from, how do we know where we're going to go in the future? And that is the most important thing. As a matter of fact, I've been excited about this discussion since Wednesday. uh, a lot of my attention was taken up by a little bit naughtiness the Chinese were doing, and of
Im
course
the
what
dim took it away.
but I've been excited about this episode right from the beginning ki yaar, this thing, what is the game here? It is very, very interesting. uh, Sir, beyond words, thank you so much. It is
My
a
pleasure.
pleasure, and we hope you have a wonderful, wonderful trip, and we shall see you when you get back.
Yeah. Once I get back, I'll get in touch with you and you can take it further whichever way you want.
Jai Hind, sir.
Jai Bharat.
Jai Bharat. Thanks, guys. Like the video before you leave. Jai Bharat.